Let me just say what an honour it is for me, how privileged I am that you have chosen this part of Australia Day to sit down in front of the telly and watch this show. I am truly honoured and, as I said, great way for me to be spending Australia Day as well. Now, I imagine many a bedwetting member of the government choked on their vegan kale muffins this morning, reading that the Nationals are planning more coal-fired power stations to save Australian industry, farming and manufacturing. Joining me now is the Liberal National member for Dawson in Queensland. George Christensen, how are you, mate? Great to see you.
Great, Rowan. Thanks for having me on.
Happy Australia Day. You got the flag there. It's looking good.
Mate, Australia Day all the way. None of this Invasion Day rubbish that the ABC puts up.
Well, they keep trying, but we keep fighting back. George, the Nationals announced this morning a plan that is, quote, ambitious but achievable, which is to create 800,000 jobs within 15 years in the Hunter Valley by building a coal-fired power station there. Do you reckon Scott Morrison will be rushing off to Boris's global warming gabfest with this one? Look what the Nats have got for us, George.
Well, look, it's a pretty good document. As you said, 800,000 new jobs. And that's not jobs just in the Hunter Valley. That's jobs right across the nation. But yes, I mean, it's underpinned by two major things, and they're tackling the big problems about getting manufacturing going again, whether it be food manufacturing with the agricultural sector, whether it be steel manufacturing, whatever it might be. There's two major issues. One of them is power, energy. It's too expensive, and we need to bring costs down. And one way we can do that is by pumping more baseload power into the system. And the cheapest form of baseload we have is coal-fired power. And they have these ultra, super critical, high intensity, low emissions coal-fired power stations now that they're rolling out in China, rolling out in Japan, rolling out all around the world, even in Europe. But we don't want to have a new one built here, which would actually bring down emissions compared to what we're burning at the moment in coal-fired power stations. Well, so George, that's one thing. Also opening up new gas fields.
Yep, carry on.
Also opening up new gas fields and getting cheap gas and same with oil. We need to look at oil as well. And these things aren't going to make the greenies happy. But, you know, if it comes to jobs or greenie mobs, well, I'm picking the jobs.
You mentioned China, and this is fascinating because, of course, China get away with saying, oh, yes, we're going to reduce emissions by whenever, and people just believe them and go, oh, they must be telling the truth. I mean, it's interesting when you start taking the word of communists and totalitarian governments. But anyway, they're building like Billy-O. They're going, oh, another coal-fired power station next week, and so on. At what point does Australia have to really get serious, particularly after the pandemic? We know we need to bring manufacturing back to this country, but we can't bring manufacturing back to this country based on windmills and solar panels, can we?
No, we can't, because it doesn't provide the baseload capacity that most heavy industry and major manufacturing firms actually need. And that's why you see them in places like Japan, where they actually have these ultra supercritical power stations, and why you see them in places like China that, as you say, are building them like Billy-O right now. And, you know, they talk about China cutting emissions. Well, that's nonsense. China just says, well, our business as usual is going to be up here. Instead, we're going to go down there. So that's the cut. It's an imaginary cut, and it's not the kind of cut that the greenies and the Paris Agreement people want to put on Australia. They want us to really cut
they want to see us,
our economic production.
They want to decimate
job losses. That's what they want to see.
Want to decimate us, absolutely. Big tech. I know you're very interested in this topic. The purge we've seen, where how on earth can it be that a company, they used to be called utilities, you know, like water, like gas, like telephone wires. Here we have a company that is a platform, basically, for the world to communicate on, and yet they have decided they can censor the President of the United States. Who's next in this purge from big tech?
Well, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, they're all into it, and they control the public square now. And, you know, yes, it started with Donald Trump, but immediately we saw members of parliament, ministers, as I understand, over in India being affected by this. Then in Uganda fought back, where they just basically shut down Twitter and Facebook in their country. But that's Ugandan politics, I guess. You know, but we need to do something that fights back against this. Poland's got an interesting strategy that they've adopted. They've basically set up a government body which is going to approve or disapprove of whatever the tech giants are saying should be censored. And I think the way that this is going to work over in Poland, from what I've read from their assistant justice minister, is that stuff that is completely within the law, political commentary, not talking about illegal or defamatory content, and we're not talking about stuff that probably is rightly moderated for community standards like gratuitous violence or nudity. We're talking about political discussion, that they will ensure that it has to be allowed on these big tech platforms, on these social media platforms. And if they don't, they're going to issue big fines. So I think that's something that we could consider here in Australia as well. I'm not talking about
I agree with
content.
you. Yep, we have to do something because it's outrageous if they think that they can start censoring people. George Christensen, I've got to go, but I was just admiring what I thought were your Australian Day gongs up on the shelf behind you, but I realised they're Daleks. Nice Dalek collection.
That's
there,
correct,
mate.
yeah.
There you go. George Christensen, great to see you, mate.